So there was this blog post that went crazy viral, and it talked about what it means to be poor in America. And the author of that post, Michael Green, said that the real poverty line is not $31,000 like the government's telling you. Instead, it's actually closer to $140,000 a year.
The entire point for me was not to actually dig in and define a new poverty line. It was to understand what the average American household was experiencing. I built those numbers up from the MIT living wage components.
Now, this obviously got a lot of attention and a lot of debate. So in today's video, I want to share with you what that post said and give you my personal thoughts. So let me just start right here. The question is, what does it mean to be poor in America? In the 1960s, the government asked Molly Orshansky to go and find out the answer to that question. What is poverty? Which, if you think about, is really hard to define because one person's definition might be really different than someone else's. But here's how the government defined it. They started by assuming a couple of things. Number one, they assumed it was a family of four. Secondly, that food was the biggest and most predictable part of their budget, and that if you knew the bare minimum cost of feeding that family, you could just sort of work backwards to estimate everything else. Because food was consistently the biggest part of a family's budget back in the 1960s. But fast forward to today, and we spend proportionally way less money on food and way more on everything else, like housing and healthcare and childcare, transportation, insurance, debt, taxes, and all those other things. And those categories did not get factored in to the original formula. And what that has done is it has created the illusion that poverty has barely grown. But Michael Green says, if we apply the same original method and the same logic, except we use the share of income Americans spend on essentials today, we would not get a poverty line of $31,000. Instead, it would be closer to $140,000.
The simple reality is, in a world in which in order to afford to rent or buy a home, you need a second income, childcare becomes a very real component of it. We're actually seeing more and more households who are incapable of clearing that threshold for participation in the modern economy. The last 50 years has seen an extraordinary tax cut for the wealthiest Americans and an extraordinary